Welcome to Mysteries, Myths, and Legends. I'm Taylor.
I'm Savannah.
Welcome to the show. Happy Wednesday, everybody.
Happy Alien Day.
Ooh, Alien Day.
Okay, it's actually not Alien Day. That was like a week ago at this point. But
True. But, guys, if you haven't heard already, allegedly, and I do say allegedly because we don't know if it's true necessarily, but there was a press conference in Mexico where some researchers, like ufologists, claimed to have found mummified alien remains.
Yes.
And they posted the pictures.
Yes, and they did. Yeah, they did post the receipts. They posted the pictures. And okay. So I took a look at these and I'm like, I can definitely see where this could be real.
For sure.
They're saying that they're 1,000 years old.
Crazy.
And also, I know. Also, they say that there are implants in. They found implants in them. I think in their head. Did you see that part?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So I forget what metals, but it's like some metals that were implanted in.
So I think.
So I'm guessing that's like some sort of technology. Like that's
yes.
crazy.
So one of the metals in there is the most rare metal on Earth. It's called osmosium. And that's allegedly one of the metals that they found in there, which is crazy because, as I said, it's one of the rarest to find on Earth. So, is that a coincidence? I don't know. But they look like, in case you haven't seen the picture, they look like 2, maybe 3 feet tall, like really short, really small, gray, kind of humanoid, but kind of not, with 3 fingers. 3 big old fingers.
Right, and they look like what you would think an alien would look like.
Like pretty much, but I think they look way smaller. That's the only thing that doesn't match up.
The smallness, the fact that they're small. At first I was like, oh, what? Like they must just be like a small species. But what if they're just like children?
Yeah, that's what me and Savannah were saying. What if they're baby aliens?
Yeah,
could be. Who knows? So,
could be. We don't really. Yeah, I guess they didn't really. I don't know if they've done like all this research on them yet or not.
Because as we're talking about it, it's only been like 2 days since they've announced this information. So maybe by the time this comes out, there will be more, and we'll have to, update you guys again. But that's all we know about that for now. But definitely Google those pictures because there's a lot of memes made about them already.
Yes,
which are funny.
Honestly, if this does end up being fake, I'm gonna be a little bit disappointed, but I won't be that surprised.
100. I will not be surprised at all, but I'll be sad because I believe in this one a little.
Yeah, like I'll be more surprised if it is real, and I'll be kind of like, like I'm not taking it all in yet, and I think that's why there's a lot of memes going around. I mean, people aren't taking it serious.
I really think that even if they do come out and say it's 100% real, I think there's still going to be memes because people still aren't going to believe it.
Yeah, that's true. I know. I feel like to make it really believable, you would have to have a real life one.
That's true. That's very true.
And that is probably not going to happen.
No.
I mean, who knows?
I mean, I just feel like, especially because that one is 1,000 years old. Like,
yeah, true.
I just feel like it's weird that that's the first one we found. I mean, maybe it's not the first one, It's just the first one publicly found.
That is another interesting point. True. I didn't really think about that.
But maybe, like, the governments and things of the world just hid all the other ones. And they weren't able to hide this one, or maybe they don't care. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they're just ready. The forces at hand, they're like just ready to like put this out into the public.
Yeah,
our conspiracy lore coming in.
Exactly. And plus they have been like dropping more and more alien things lately.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
so they're like, it's time. The alien revolution. You know what, aliens, I've always said this, but you can come get me, I'll go.
Well, I mean, I need to know a little bit more about it before I go.
I'll go,
but
I'll just go.
What if you are put to what if they like make you work and are like making you a slave?
Well, I'm already a corporate America slave, so
I mean, there's that. So Maybe,
Yeah.
I mean, at least this way, if you went with them, you'd just be like, learning about their
Exactly.
culture and stuff, and
Exactly. And
like, maybe.
I would be able to hold on the hope that one day I would maybe return to tell all of you guys about it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
Okay,
know.
so for you, it's worth it.
Exactly. Exactly. But okay, so we're not steering off the topic of aliens because if you listen to last week's episode, I talked about the lost colony of Roanoke and
Yes.
basically a group of people, the first settlers to come over here, basically went missing. And we talked about all these different theories of what could have happened to them. Like, did they join the Croatoan tribe? Did they get killed? I mean, a bunch of different things. But I forgot the most important theory. And so I thought I would go ahead and talk about it a little bit for right now. What if they were abducted by aliens?
I
Dun, dun,
mean,
dun.
I guess it could be a possibility.
I mean, if this alien that we're talking about before is 1,000 years old, that means there were aliens here when they were here. You know, if that's
True.
real. So this colony, if you didn't listen, basically disappeared without a trace. The only evidence that was left behind was the word Croatoan carved into a tree. And what if they didn't know what the Croatoan people looked like and instead thought that the aliens were Croatoan people? You know?
I mean,
I feel like that's a far stretch, but it's possible. I don't
yeah,
know.
or they were taken and the aliens wrote that on the tree to,
Ooh.
divert them and they're
That.
divert like people who are going to go find them.
Now that is a good theory.
I guess, I mean, if the aliens were going to do that though, maybe they would just not even put anything on the tree.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Maybe.
Something to think about.
Yeah, something to think about. But, aliens, it's possible. Because we don't know what happened to those people at all. So maybe they're out there in space somewhere. Who knows?
Could be.
Could be. But anyway, if you don't mind, go rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, please.
Okay. So, I guess you don't have anything else
Nope.
for us. Okay.
Let's get on into
So,
it.
I'm going to get right on into my story. And this is something that I didn't okay. I had to dig into a lot of like English history for this one. So, I don't know if you know that like any English history.
Like England?
Yes, England.
A little.
Okay. So do you know about the Tower of London?
Nope.
Okay. I didn't really either. I did see I did take AP European history,
Ooh.
in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So I should honestly know a lot of this stuff already, but I
Yeah.
just, that was a time that class was really hard.
Yeah, high school also was a long time ago. At this point, so.
I mean, you're right, but like I feel like I definitely like remember stuff from my AP US history way more than this one.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, we're gonna do a little bit of AP Euro, I guess, here. So the Tower of London, it was built by William the Conqueror in the 11th century, so a really long time ago.
Wow.
It's really old. It also took 20 years to build. It is still around today.
What? No way. The
Yes.
original?
I mean, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, they've had to have, like,
renovated it
they
for
do, maybe not renovations, but, like, active, fixing it up throughout the years, just as things were starting to crumble and stuff. But yeah, like, it's made of stone and everything, so it's long lasting, But yeah, the Tower of London, it's like this big fortress in London. So if I show you pictures, you probably know exactly what building it is. It
I'm gonna
has
Google it.
Big Ben on the front of it.
Oh, yes. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So it's not really just one building per se. It's like a fortress. Like, it has a big wall around it. And there's towers inside of it. There's like places I guess like jails, like I don't know, places where you can be imprisoned. Oh,
Ooh,
I
like
just made a
cells.
noise. Yeah. And I think some of them are in towers because some of the things that I'm gonna say, there's like different towers in there. So it's like it's called the Tower of London, and there's different towers in it, and yeah. So yeah, this place was built a long time ago as a fortress and as a royal palace, um, and it has a long history. Just really old. Three English queens were executed here.
What?
There has been like treason, murder,
Oh my
executions,
God.
just all of this stuff over the years. So lots of opportunity for ghosts,
Oh
you know,
yes, many, many ghosts, I'm sure.
many. So I'm not even going to cover all of them, but I'm going to go over some. And also the crown jewels are held here.
No way.
Yes. So this is a big tourist destination. It has over 3 million visitors a year. And it also has the famous British Guards.
Oh, I love the British Guards. They don't move for
Yes,
anything.
I know. And do you know their actual like title, like the name that they're called?
I definitely have in the past, but I don't remember it.
Okay, they are called the Yemen Warders, aka the Beef Eaters.
The beef eaters. Actually, I did take a class in college where we learned all about them.
Oh yeah?
And so yeah, I actually didn't know that, which is hilarious. The beef eaters.
I read that and I was like, "What are you what? A beef eater?" But apparently they were called beef eaters because they were permitted to eat as much beef as they wanted from the
Yes.
king's table.
Yes, because they have to be strong, you know? They're the guard of the king.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So yeah, if you still don't know what I'm talking about at this point, they're the guards with the big hats. You know,
I was just
like
about to
just
say,
the
they have the big fuzzy hats.
yes, exactly. So yeah, that's a little bit about the Tower of London in general. I feel like I definitely knew all of these things like separately, but I didn't realize. I mean, I've never been to London. I don't,
Yeah.
you know,
Me
know anything
neither.
about that stuff. But it's like now putting it all together, it's like okay, that big building that I've seen pictures of and stuff is that's what it's called. So, so anyways, that's the Tower of London. But let's get into some of the ghosts that live here. The first one is Guy Fawkes.
What a
And
name.
so, do you know about him?
No.
No? Okay. So, he actually is like a big figurehead, sort of like martyr type person. I don't know. People still not celebrate. I don't really know the correct term for it, but because okay, I'm just gonna go on with the story. But he I think you would know who he was by the mask that people wear.
Oh. Okay.
Like if you Google Guy Fawkes mask,
Okay. I think I know what you're talking about without even looking
yes,
it up. Does it have the mustache or no?
yes.
Okay, yeah.
So
Then I
that
know.
it's that guy.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
anyways, actually, in November 5th every year is Guy Fawkes Day in Britain.
What?
Yeah,
What? I had no idea.
and they wear the masks and stuff. So I never really knew the story behind him and like why he was so like, why there was a day for it and everything.
Yeah, I didn't even know there was a day, so I definitely didn't know.
Yeah, I think I learned that by watching BBC Sherlock.
Of course, of
Because
course.
I think that might have been on there or maybe another show. But yeah, I didn't know like what he had done. So um basically was he was ultimately killed for treason, executed for treason.
Yikes, that's a big
But
yikes.
let me tell you what he did. So November 5th, basically this holiday or this day is to remember the gunpowder plot of 1605. So it was a long time ago. Guy Fawkes and a group of Catholic conspirators they attempted to blow up Parliament and assassinate King James the First.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. So he was caught in the act and imprisoned and tortured at the Tower of London. And so you may be asking, like, why did they want to do this?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of it's basically about religion when it comes down to it.
Oh.
So King James, he came into power and the people thought that he would end the religious persecution of like Catholics, but he didn't. And he was like, no, I hate Catholics too, just like the previous king.
What?
So they wanted to take like drastic measures, and they're like, Guy Fawkes and like this group of people, they all got together and they were like, we're gonna blow them up, basically.
Yeah.
So before this could happen, he got caught. Him and a few other people got caught and sentenced to treason.
Oh.
He got sentenced to be executed for treason. And it is crazy how he is sort of the figurehead for all of this, because reading into it, he didn't even really like plan it all. He was just like along for the ride in the group.
Mm-hmm.
But he just became the martyr for it. The
face of it. That's crazy.
Yeah. So the way that he died is crazy to me.
Oh, Lord.
So he was hanged, drawn, and quartered.
Oh, no.
In the Westminster Yard.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Big yikes. Big yikes.
Biggest fear, honestly. Glad we don't do that anymore.
I don't even want to like describe what that means. You can look it up yourself.
Yeah. It's bad.
It's bad. So yeah, because of all of this, he is said to haunt the Tower of London.
Of course he does.
You may be able to hear his screams as he's being tortured.
Oh my God. That is horrible. That's so scary. Oh my goodness. I bet London is so haunted thinking about how old it is now.
I know, right? And all of the things that have gone down there.
Yeah.
Like, it's just crazy. And also, okay, I did read that the November 5th, like Guy Fawkes thing in November 5th, it actually started out as King James. He was like, he made this day to remember it just so people would, follow his law, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And like be like, remember when I did this when he tried to kill me? So
wow.
Yeah,
that's
you guys
really
better
savage.
Behave. Yeah, and then it sort of turned into, it's just like transformed over the years, and I don't think it's like that anymore.
For sure.
But yeah, so that's that story. And we're gonna move on to the next ghost. In this one, I think you might recognize Anne Boleyn.
Oh yes.
Mm-hmm. So Anne Boleyn, she was a queen. She was the queen married to Henry the do you ever read Roman numerals and you have to like count it in your head?
I just don't know. 7th maybe?
The 8th.
8th. I couldn't remember.
Henry the 8th.
Mm-hmm.
So, but she was not his first wife.
No. He had many.
Yeah, well, King Henry VIII, he broke the Roman Catholic Church. He like broke with them. He's like, England, like we're not doing the Catholic Church anymore, and created his own religion, basically. The Anglican Church, aka the Church of England, and he basically, to my knowledge, he kept most of it the same.
Wow.
But the one main thing that he changed was the fact that he could get divorced.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, he had to, He had so many wives. He needed to be allowed to divorce people.
Exactly, because like his first marriage, he tried to get it annulled, and the Pope was like, no, like you're not allowed. Like, I don't care that you're the king. We don't do that.
Yeah.
So he's basically like, well, I'm just going to make my own religion then. And so he divorced his wife, Catherine of Aragon, and then he married Anne Boleyn. And then 3 years later, he accused her of adultery.
Yep.
And she was taken as a prisoner and executed, beheaded.
Beheaded.
Yes.
Yeah. In case anybody was wondering, there is indeed an entire musical about this. It's called Six, the musical.
Oh.
And it's about King Henry's 6 wives. And it's one of my faves. And all I'm doing while you're telling me this is singing the musical in my head.
Oh, okay. I was like thinking to myself, like, have you already looked all of this up?
No.
Like, do you?
No. That I'm just really passionate about musicals is really what it is.
I see. Yeah. So in so she was beheaded, and now she haunts the Tower of London.
Okay, I did not know. I know she was beheaded, obviously, but I did
Yes.
not know her ghost was in London. That is so crazy.
Yeah. And actually in 1864, so this was still a long time ago. But I mean, this is like the biggest sighting of her that has been, that is known. In 1864, she was seen as a ghostly white figure.
Ooh.
She actually moved towards a guard, and the guard like charged at her because he thought that it was a real person.
Wow. Wait, did she have her head?
I think so. I mean,
Well, that's
because
good.
it's not really like, it wasn't really described, but it was just like the fact that he thought that she was real, I'm
Yeah.
guessing so.
She had to have a head if he thought she was real.
Yeah, so he charged towards her, and he went right through her because she's a ghost.
Wow.
And then afterwards, he like realized, he's like, oh my God, that was a ghost, and fainted.
Me, honestly.
So
That's
yeah,
funny.
that's the ghost of Anne Boleyn. So next in line, Henry the Sixth.
Ooh.
A lot of repeat names because
Yeah,
There's
back in the day, they thought there was like 5 names total.
there's
In
a
the
lot
world.
of Henrys. And
Henry, Elizabeth, Catherine,
William.
William. Yeah, that's the big 4 right there.
Okay, so Henry V, he was actually the only English monarch to be crowned King of France as well as King of England.
What?
Which
I
is
did
interesting.
not know that.
Yeah, I was trying to get into the details, but I was ending up like just confusing myself.
Right.
But I don't think he ruled them at the same time. Like I don't know.
Well, I hope not, because that would be treason amongst itself, right?
Right, like I don't know if like at one point they were both under the same monarch. I don't know. Somebody out there is screaming at me because they know.
For sure, they are.
But whatever. There's also another like record breaker for him. He was like the youngest king, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, what?
Possibly.
No way.
He became king at 9 months old.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. That just seems wrong.
Yeah, basically from birth.
He couldn't even walk.
Right.
He was ruling the country.
Yeah. And he was actually later in his life, when he got to like 50, he was unfortunately murdered.
Oh.
He was murdered at the altar in the king's private chapel in 1471. And he was most likely killed at the order of like the next king,
Oh, snap.
Edward the Fourth. He I guess Edward, he just wanted to be king, so he's like, get him out of here.
That is so savage. Wow.
I'm saying, like, reading into some of this old history is just like crazy because these monarchs, they were just doing anything.
They
They're
did
like,
not
let's
care
just,
at all.
and like nothing happens. He just became king, you know?
Right.
It's
Just
like,
murder a guy and become king is insane.
yeah. So anyways, he haunts the Tower of London. He actually haunts the Wakefield Tower, and he appears at the stroke of midnight.
Ooh,
So.
spooks my gooks.
Yeah, very spooky. So this next ghost, you are gonna be a little shocked at. It was a ghost of a bear.
What? A bear? Do they even have bears in London? I guess they do.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you. So Henry III, he actually housed a bunch of animals at the Tower of London.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, I guess kind of. So people would like, I guess like other monarchs from like other countries, they would send him gifts as like an animal as a gift.
What?
Like I don't know. It was
I mean,
back then.
yeah, what
Things were
else did they
weird.
have to give,
They're
really?
like, oh, let me just show you my wealth by giving you a lion. Like,
That's, I mean, that would prove to me that you're wealthy,
yeah.
even
So
today.
or like prove my dedication or I don't know something.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, he had a bunch of animals. I'm gonna list some of them here. So he had lions, pumas, tigers, jackals, an elephant,
What?
a polar bear,
A
and
polar bear.
I'm guessing more like probably a regular black bear as well.
What about a
Um,
dog? A cat? None of that?
I don't know.
No
Maybe.
regular? Just
Maybe.
exotic animals.
Yeah, so they had a lot of animals there during his reign. So the ghost of this bear that I brought up, he is said to appear from behind the door of the jewel room. So like where the crown jewels are. And people say that he like is just guarding them, you know?
I'm sorry. I don't think I've ever been more scared of a ghost than when you just told me there's a bear ghost. Because I'm real scared of bears, real scared of ghosts, real scared of bear ghost. Like, can they
Yeah, well,
attack you?
I don't know.
Oh
I
my
mean, he's
goodness.
protecting the crown jewels, so I hope he can.
Well,
He
that's
gotta he
true.
gotta
That's
protect
true. He's
them.
got to protect them.
Yeah. Um so yeah, I mean a ghost, I guess ghosts can kind of attack you, right?
They definitely
We've
can.
seen
Yeah, they can.
that. So yeah, I get that is pretty scary then. I didn't really think about it
That's
before.
horrifying.
Yeah. Um maybe since it was like a pet though, maybe it's like nicer.
That's true.
I don't
Like,
know.
were these animals just roaming around the towers?
See,
Like,
I want to say no. Like I feel like they had to have had a designated like area, like a zoo or something,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, they
But
had to.
maybe but like I don't know, maybe they were just roaming.
Just pumas,
You
low
never
key,
know.
just up and about. And that's
I mean,
crazy.
I don't know.
That's crazy that they were even there to begin with.
Listen, things were crazy
Yeah, I don't
back.
think I realized how crazy things just were, though. Like, that's really
Yes.
wild.
Yes. Um like people talk about us time traveling back and people wouldn't survive with the stuff we have now, but
Oh,
I feel
yeah.
like we wouldn't be able to survive
No,
if
I don't
we
think
traveled
so.
back in time.
No. Definitely not.
Yeah. So, okay. So, moving on to the next ghost here. This is somebody that we just talked about, Sir Walter Raleigh.
No way. What are
Yes,
the odds
yes
of
way.
that?
I know, right? Throwback to last episode. If you haven't
Yes.
listened, go back and
Yes.
listen. So, Sir Walter Raleigh, he was actually sent to the Tower, the Tower of London, to be imprisoned 3 separate times.
No way. What did he do?
Just different things, I guess. I don't
Yeah.
know. He spent 13 years in the Bloody Tower.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah. And he even attempted suicide here.
Oh, wow.
Um, and ultimately, he was beheaded outside of the Palace of Westminster.
God, they just loved a good beheading back in the day.
I know, you know. And it's like public, probably
Yeah,
too.
oh, for sure.
It's
They're like,
just,
everybody
yeah.
come on, beheading.
It's like
2
everyone come
p.m.
look.
Come
It's like I
around.
wouldn't survive that.
No,
If we're
not
talking
even
about
no.
time traveling. Oh
No.
my god.
No. The trauma.
I don't even know why somebody would want to see that. But
No.
people were built different.
They sure were.
So yeah, he haunts the Tower of London. Most likely the Bloody Tower because he was there for so long.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So he's over there. So the next one, I have a 3 more to go. Okay, so next one, Lady Jane Grey. She was actually the English queen with the shortest reign of only 9 days.
What? 9 days?
So let me tell you why. So she was made queen when the king died, and he had in his will that she was going to be like next in line. Because he didn't want his half sister to be next in line because his sister was Catholic.
Of course.
And no one, and like Lady Jane Grey was Protestant. So the king was like, well, I want the next queen to be Protestant. So anyways, he put that in his will. So she gets ready to be queen and like they're about to have her coronation and stuff. But unfortunately, no one really wanted her to be queen. And the past king, his half sister Mary, she came into the picture and was chosen to be queen instead.
Wow.
And so she just sort of took over. But, Jane wasn't just let free and like just told to go home. No. She was charged with treason.
Why? What?
Because she was trying to get in the way of like the true line of succession.
Okay, well.
So, I mean, honestly though, like, if somebody said that I was going to be next in line to be queen, even though somebody else was supposed to be, I'd be like, well, yeah. Like,
who wouldn't want to be queen?
Right,
what kind of question is that?
But I guess she was supposed to say no, and then she wouldn't have been, treasonous.
That's really sad
It
for her.
is. Yeah. So she was executed too. So.
Oh, no, I feel so bad
And
for Jane.
she was only like 17.
No, don't tell me that. That's so sad.
I know. And she now haunts the area. She haunts the tower.
We have to go see Jane.
I know.
Shout out to our girl Jane.
Yeah.
They did her so dirty.
She did nothing wrong.
Mm-mm.
Oh, and I also want to mention the people. So like this, I'm just going off on a tangent here. But when I was looking into some of this, I found out that some people were executed just for being the mother of somebody who did something wrong.
What? That
And I'm
is
just
so
like,
messed up.
Right. So I just had to bring that up because, Jane didn't do anything wrong, and either did like these other people.
No.
So
you can't help that if your child is just evil.
Right. Exactly.
Like sometimes you can. I will say that. Like sometimes you definitely can.
Mm-hmm,
But sometimes you have no control. They're just evil.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, what about the dads? How about we execute the dads too?
Yeah.
I
know.
That's crazy. But like, for real, what about them? They had just as much part as the mom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Messed up.
I know, it's really messed up. So the next ghost I have here is Arbella Stewart, and she married this guy called William Seymour, and he was the nephew of Lady Jane Grey.
Oh.
And she actually didn't get consent didn't get royal consent to be married to him.
Oh.
And unfortunately, King James I, he thought that this could be a threat to the throne.
Oh my God.
And he placed Arbella under arrest at the Tower just for marrying this guy. And she either refused to eat or was starved purposely. And died in the Tower.
Oh my gosh, that's so horrible.
I know. And her ghost, she haunts the Tower too. So.
Wow, this place is like filled with ghosts.
There's so many. Like, I'm not even listing them all.
Wow.
So, okay, and I have one last little story, and this one is pretty heartbreaking too. I mean, they all kind of are, but. So, this one has to do with Edward V and his brother Richard. So Edward IV dies, and his son Edward V, who is only 12 years old, he becomes king. And his uncle, he sort of takes over because, Edward's only 12, so his uncle's sort of taking over. And he ends up imprisoning Edward, and his brother,
Why?
Richard.
They were children.
Yeah, he imprisons them, in the Tower of London, and, so Richard, he declares that Edward V and Richard, they were actually illegitimate children and were not the true, next in line. They
Oh my
were not,
God.
the true sons of King Edward IV. So that would mean that Richard, the uncle, Richard, he would become king. So he became king, King Richard III. And the princes, they were never seen again. And they
What?
were believed to be murdered.
Oh my God. That's
And
so
this,
bad.
yeah, and then this, sort of, was verified because their bones were found beneath a staircase in
No.
the Tower of London.
Wow, they couldn't even
So,
bury them in the ground. They just put them under the stairs.
yeah.
That's so sad.
Yeah, so yeah, they're haunting the place too.
Of course
Because,
they are. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. What? That is so
And
insane.
also, I'm pretty sure, like, I'm 90% sure that they actually were the king's sons, and he was just
Yeah,
saying
he
that
just
so he
wanted to
could be
be
king. Yeah.
king. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely agree.
So yes, that's the Tower of London and some of its ghosts.
I am shook over here right now. Like, what? Okay,
I know,
we
that was a lot.
really, 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 really need to go there.
I know, I kind of want to go too.
Because I really want to go to London just in general. And obviously, that's a stop on that trip anyway, because obviously you have to go there. But
Yeah.
now I'm trying to go in.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah, we can try to find some ghosts. Try to find
yeah.
that bear.
I'm definitely trying to find the bear, but I'm real scared of that. Because I just can't imagine a bear ghost. Like, we've talked about a lot of animal ghosts, but bear ghost has never once crossed my mind.
Really? That's funny.
I mean, has it crossed your mind?
I mean, I guess not. I guess you're right.
I was like, wow, maybe it has, but I just don't. I just cannot imagine that. Well, I guess switching it up a little bit to my story. My dad actually told me to do this story, which, I mean, as we all know, he's probably not listening to this because, he doesn't. But he did tell me a story. So I have for you the legend of Booger Hole, West Virginia.
What? I've never heard of that.
Me neither. Me neither. But my dad is from West Virginia, so makes sense that he would have heard of it. This story is from a really, really tiny town that is literally called Booger Hole, West Virginia. It's crazy. So this story has a little bit of true crime and a lot of spooky. So
Ooh, okay.
let's
ready.
just jump right on in. So Booger Hole, West Virginia, is a tiny, when I say tiny, I mean tiny, tiny, tiny town in between the hollers of Big Otter and Rush Fork. So if you don't know what a holler is, basically it's like a small town, but like 5 times as small, like 5 people.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So they're called hollers. Like, there's so many hollers in West Virginia, but yeah. So in between 2 already small hollers is Booger Hole. Kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Tiny, tiny.
Big, small, yeah.
Big, small.
So Booger Hole made headlines from the late 1800s through 1917 because there was a mismatched series of murders in which bodies have never been found.
Oh.
So that's the tea. They started around 1883. Andrew Andy Hargis, who was a stonemason, he actually built chimneys in Booger Hole or in and around the area of Booger Hole. And he actually disappeared while traveling from his hometown to Booger Hole. He had been carrying around $300 in his pocket with him, and he was just going to Booger Hole for work, literally to build a chimney. And he was vanished. He vanished and was never seen again. Never.
Oh, no.
So his parents knew that he left for the job and then never came back.
Oh, wow.
and never to be seen again.
And he was last seen there?
Yep, indeed.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So moving forward, and that's literally all the information there is on that one, which is crazy. But moving forward, about 15 years later in 1897, Joseph Clark, he was a watchmaker, and he was just stopping in Booger Hole for the night because he was just traveling through West Virginia and needed a place to stay. And he decided to sleep at the Booger Hole schoolhouse. Because I guess during that time you could just go to the like random buildings in the town and just sleep there.
Yeah, I bet it didn't have a lock on it or anything.
For sure it did not, no. So he was last seen going to the schoolhouse to sleep, but he was never seen again after that night in the schoolhouse. But this time, there was actually a trail of blood that was found leading from the schoolhouse to a nearby creek. So there was a little bit of evidence that time, but
Oh, wow.
still no body found.
Okay, that's really creepy.
It's very creepy. Oh my goodness, it's so creepy. So that happened in 1897. So 4 years after that, in 1901, there was an elderly woman named Lacey Ann Boggs who was making her home in an abandoned schoolhouse in Otter Creek, which is the town right beside Booger Hole. So now before I go into Lacey's story, I do have to say that her last name is Boggs, and I have Boggs in my family. And they are from West Virginia, which so is my family. So I feel like it's a high possibility that I might be related to Lacey.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, possibly, but I feel like it's a good strong chance if it's the same last name in the same state, and not a common one. So
Yeah.
I was reading that story and I was like, oh my God, I recognize that name. Crazy. But anyway, moving back to her story, tragically, as she was just making her home in this abandoned schoolhouse, nobody wanted it. So she was like, I'm going to take it and build my own home here. But tragically, she was shot in the back of the head one night at the abandoned schoolhouse while she was just outside smoking her pipe.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Just minding her own business.
Minding her business. Absolutely minding her business. People in town pointed their fingers to a neighbor named Cottrell. And apparently Cottrell had called Lacey a witch and said that she would come visit him in his dreams. Now, we all know how we feel about people calling people witches on this podcast. We do not really believe them. But this guy, he told the local squire that she would call him with what he called a witch call.
Okay.
And he did not really explain what a witch call was. But apparently, whenever she did her little witch call, it would force him to like come out of his house and burst through the window in her house. And I'm like, huh? Like, what are you talking about? But apparently her witch call was like irresistible and it would force him to just be drawn to her. So, but it gets crazier. Not only does her witch call bring him to her house and he's like throwing himself at her, but then she would grab him and sometimes occasionally his son as well and strap them to the back of her car and would ride them to Pilot Knob and back, dragging them through the thorns and the brush, and occasionally whipping them with a hickory switch.
What?
I'm like, sir, you're telling me that you didn't call the police or something?
That is too much. Like what is he doing?
Right, like, I don't believe him.
What? Okay, no, you're right. You're right. So, like, he just said that this happened.
I mean, like, maybe he's not lying. Maybe I'm biased because I think she's my family member, but, like, I don't know.
Like, I don't know. Like, that seems a little far-fetched.
Right, and, like, you're gonna let her do... First of all, I'm sorry, you're a grown man. You're gonna let her take you and her son, and your son?
Honestly, that is very, very valid point, yeah.
Like, I mean, if she was a witch and was forcing him to do that, which is kind of what he's saying, like, I mean, that's crazy. But I'm like, did he deserve it then? I don't know. But anyway, so that's not even it. He also said that sometimes when she was like doing her little torture rides to him, that she would sometimes drive really slow so that dragonflies would stop on him and sting him. And I'm like, sir, I don't know if she was driving that slow.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, because I feel like dragonflies like that would
like
they would
I've only ever had a dragonfly experiences in a pool. Like, I don't know.
yeah, like aren't they only around like water?
Water, exactly. There's no water
And
in West
also
Virginia.
right. And also like wouldn't you have to be totally stopped? Like I don't understand.
That's what I'm saying. Like, she's driving a car. Like, what? Weird. But apparently, this guy went to the squire of the town with all of this information, and even though every single person in town suspected that he was the one that had shot her, there was no evidence, and Cottrell and his son were both released because they were both arrested for the crime, but with no evidence, they were both released. So, you know, if it is true, that means my ancestor was a witch. And if it's not true, which I don't think is true, he was horrible and killed her for no reason.
Yeah. I mean, you are a witch, so it makes sense.
I mean, exactly. So, yes, that's what maybe he's not lying, But he didn't have to kill her, regardless.
Yeah.
But like, so that's like the only one so far that anybody had an idea of who possibly killed
right.
her. So, but no evidence. Can't really say it was him for sure.
It definitely was.
I definitely agree. Definitely agree. But moving forward once again to January of 1917, 23-year-old Preston Tanner moved to the area of Booger Hole with his wife, and unfortunately, not long at all after they moved to the area, they were burned alive in their cabin.
Burned alive. That is such a scary way to die.
Like probably my absolute worst fear. Fire is so scary to me.
Yes, especially since like I think wouldn't that take a long time too?
Probably, but I think they were sleeping. So maybe like smoke inhalation is what actually killed them. But like, oh, I just can't imagine. And they were so excited to start their new lives in this new town.
Yeah. Oh, it's so horrible.
Horrible. But obviously at this point, people in the town are like, okay, something's going on. There's got to be a serial killer. Like, there's all these deaths in this small town of like 100 people. Like, we got to do something about it. So they set up a grand jury, a special grand jury in the Clay County Courthouse. And through the court's investigation, they were somehow able to determine that David Andrew Sampson, who was 57 years old, and his son Howard, who was 21 years old, they were charged with Preston Tanner's death in the cabin burning and his wife. And they don't really explain like any of the evidence they found. I personally kind of think that maybe they just blame people so that they could like sweep it under the rug, because like there's really no evidence, at least that I could find. In this grand jury, 2 other people were brought to trial for murdering Andrew Harris, the first guy that was just visiting town for work. But the 2 people who were brought to trial actually were both found not guilty. So there wasn't even evidence enough to convict them at all. Yeah. So even though it seems like maybe possibly the people who committed these crimes were found, none of them were getting in trouble, and almost all of them were allowed to keep on living their lives like normal. Or maybe none of them did it, I don't know. But nobody was getting in trouble, and there was like upwards of 15 people killed at this point. And this, like, I just can't stress enough how small of a town this is. Like, 15 people should not be killed in this short amount of time.
Right, yeah. No, like the fact that it's so small and that many people are dying, it's just like that's a good percentage of them.
Exactly, that's a big percentage of them.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But I think the most wild part about these stories is for so long, people assumed that it was one person killing all these people. But it turns out, like, now today, when people look back on this, people think that actually, which I don't know which one's crazier, having one person, like a very serious serial killer in town, or having, like, multiple different killers in the town. Because that's what people assume now, is that actually, like, multiple different people killed these people for different reasons. So I mean, that's scarier to me, honestly.
I mean, I guess. See, if you think about it, in the fact that it's such a small town, the police are probably there's probably like one police officer. I don't know.
Right.
That probably is. I mean, for lack of a better term, like a good place to do that
Yeah, no,
because
you're right. You're right.
nobody's gonna
Nobody's
like
gonna get
there's
caught.
not yeah, it's really easy to not get caught
That's
when
a
there's
really good
nobody
point.
else around. So
That's
maybe they all were murders that had to do with like they like actually personally knew the person that they were killing and they had like a reason for it and they
yeah.
were like, well, I'm gonna do it here because nobody's gonna even point a finger at me
That's
because
very true.
nobody's even here.
Oh, that's true. And that's even, oh, it's just so scary.
It is. I know. Thinking about like living in such a small area where like that could be a possibility is just you just don't want to get on anyone's bad side, I guess.
No, see, that's one reason I will never move to a small town. One of many
Right.
reasons. But you just never know what's going to go. Because I feel like all crazy stories start like, oh, it was a small, perfect town, no crime ever until, you know.
Right. And honestly, like when people say like, oh, like there was like barely any crime, was there actually barely any crime or were there just like people
Nobody
were
was getting
covered?
caught.
Yeah, people were good at covering it up.
Because I personally believe there's crime everywhere. So I don't ever believe anything that says that.
Yeah.
Ever.
Agreed.
And this right here is a prime example, this story. So as you can imagine, after all of these murders, the people of Booger Hole are very upset and did not feel safe whatsoever. So, and they were not happy with this like little grand jury situation because it didn't answer any questions that they had. So they decided they were going to form the Clay County Mob. Okay.
A mob?
A
Are you
mob.
serious?
Big mob.
Oh God.
I'm going to read you their quote, the official mob quote. We have pledged our lives to drive these people from our county or kill them. If we cannot catch and hang you, we will sneak up on you and kill you the same way that you have killed others. If before you leave town there is any stealing, killing, or burning, we will get the bloodhounds and detectives and run you to the ends of the earth. Then they proceed to list all of the names of the suspects from the grand jury and give all of them 10 days to get out of our state. And they, at the end, they said, P.S. Do not ever stop on the side of the Ohio River again.
Oh my God.
Okay, period, townspeople of Booger Hole.
I mean, I guess so, but like
They were
that's
not
so
playing around.
threatening. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like they had to act kind of scary towards these people because, I mean, what other defense did they have, really? You know?
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Scary, but, they went ham. They went real ham on that. So, I do believe that those people on the list did actually leave the town after that. And then after that, the people of Booger Hole could resume their normal lives. Or could they? Dun, dun, dun.
Or could.
Because of all the death that was going on in this small town, even though those people had left, like the killers or whatever, allegedly, the townspeople were now experiencing another problem, which was ghost activity. People claim,
Oh gosh.
people claim to be able to hear sounds of what sounds like people riding horses down the road, but no horses can be found. They go outside, they're like, oh, who's coming up on the horse? Like, there's cars at this point, we're not riding horses. So they go outside to see who's pulling up on the horse. No horses. And then people also say, like, once they hear the horses, they would go outside to see the horse, don't see anything, but they can hear the horses get closer. And then even more than that, they can hear people talking, like as if people were talking on the horse. And they can hear voices, but they can't make out what they're saying. But they never see anybody and never see any horses.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, no, I don't like that one.
No. There is also a ghostly woman dressed in all white, and she has really, really long black hair. She's said to be seen walking the paths around the town. And when people see her, they obviously at first just think it's a regular, normal person. until they hear her howling, wailing, and sobbing. So that almost makes me wonder if that's the ghost of one of the women who were killed. You know, which is really heartbreaking if it is.
It is.
Yes, but the most well-known ghost story from Booger Hole is not actually one that would make sense with the stories that I have. So it's actually people are known to hear crying babies with no babies
What?
around. So this is like a very common phenomenon that we've talked about a lot on this podcast. People hearing crying babies, specifically at bridges and stuff.
Yes. Yeah, the water babies.
Right. And so, yeah, the water babies, ew, creepy. So I did not really go into the details of, I only covered some of the murders of the town because the other ones that I didn't cover were babies and children being brutally killed in this town. And, you know, that's just not the vibe I want to bring to this. But just know that it happened. And because of this, people say they hear babies and crying and there's no babies around. And so it's said that there was pretty much one house in the town where the child murders took place. And when people are walking their dogs or just on a little jog or just walking around the town near the house, dogs will go crazy. People start getting like weird feelings of sickness for no reason. And then that's really where the babies will be heard the most crying. But like the house was like abandoned. Nobody was in there. So,
oh my god. That is horrifying.
that's so scary. That's so sad. Like, first of all, you have to be horrible to kill anybody in general. But if you're murdering children and babies, something is so unbelievably wrong with you. And the way that they just got away with it is mind-boggling to me.
Yes,
So
exactly.
So sad. So, you know, I didn't want to give the whole story away up front. But you may be wondering, why is this town named Booger Hole?
I was wondering that.
So, Booger Hole, Booger is actually the local name, just Booger, originally, but the townspeople actually made it Booger Hole because I guess it, like, we talk about this sometimes too, like weird like accents and language in specific parts of the country. So once all these killings started, basically they were like, oh, it's a boogeyman, but the way they pronounce it there is kind of like a booger man.
I
If that makes sense.
I see. Yeah.
So it's called Booger Hole literally because there was a boogeyman, quote unquote, like running about the town killing all these people.
Oh wow.
So the whole
Okay.
town is just completely surrounded on all this death and ghost.
Yeah, like
All the way
even-
around.
Wow, even the name of them is just like
Literally.
it just brings out the worst part of
Literally.
it.
Literally. So it's called Booger Hole because that's where the boogeyman lives in the legend of the town.
Wow.
So yeah,
Huh.
it truly seems like Booger Hole cannot catch a break. I don't know how Booger Hole's doing today. I didn't see anything online, so maybe it's doing great, you know? I hope it is.
so.
I really
yeah.
hope it is.
Do you know the population?
You know, I did not look that up, but I really, you know what? Let me do that real quick, just because
Okay.
I'm very curious.
Yeah, a quick Google.
What do you think it's going to be? Because I think it's going to be a couple hundred.
Yeah. I think definitely under 1,000.
Okay, so it's actually so small that they don't have a population. That's
okay.
severe.
They weren't in the census.
No census. It's because it's technically not a town, it's a holler. So that does make sense.
Okay.
So I have to assume it's probably less than 100. Because I think it has to be 100 if you're like an incorporated town or whatever.
That's so crazy. Oh my god, probably like 50 people, 70
Yeah,
people.
50 people and like 15 of them were killed. Like that's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy. So yeah, that is the legend of Booger Hole.
Wow. I
Truly speechless, I know.
yeah.
I know. Both of these stories had me speechless. Like what there's just so much violence in both of them for no
like,
reason.
Yeah. No, but this one it's like it really, you know, what I was saying before with the fact that it's so small and people can get away with crime so much easier, it seems. Like that can definitely play a big part in it. But what if there is something there paranormal that is causing some of this stuff as well.
Right. Or I was
It's
even
just,
thinking like a curse. Like what if there's a curse like on the
yeah.
land? Like I didn't read
Yeah.
anything about that, but I'm just like there's some bad juju going on in this
Yeah.
little tiny town.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I would say let's take a trip to Booger Hole, but I'm a little scared to do that. So
Yeah, maybe let's leave this one out.
yeah, Booger Hole. I'll stay far away from you. I'm so sorry. But yeah, crazy, crazy. But definitely go check out our Instagram to see pictures from this week.
Mm-hmm.
Can
Mm-hmm.
we post a picture of the guard with their fuzzy little hats?
Yes, of course.
Fun. Very fun. Well, definitely also go rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, please.
And comment on our YouTube.
Facts. And also, if you're listening on Spotify, I always post a poll down below. So if you're listening, go answer the poll because they're fun. I promise.
Mm-hmm. They are.
They are. But other than that, I don't really have anything else for you guys this week. What about you, Savannah?
I think that is it.
Okay, well then I guess we will see you guys next week.
Cue the music.